You get ridiculed so much for this type of neediness. But it's like, we fighting for our lives out here, man. We fighting to get through day to day over shit we didn't have no control over. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of XOXO Biddie, where it's real talk, it's real vibes, it's no filter, because I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. It is your girl, Biddie Monroe.
You know who it is.
And of course, Ghosts came back. They always come back. Ghost, the girlies want to know what you look like, bro. They are in my DM like, send me a picture. And I'm like, no. They said it's giving Common vibes.
Common. That's
I like to keep the mysteriousness of it going. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I may reveal Ghost like on like a milestone episode if he's still around. But like for now, I like to keep it like this. But I will say this, he don't look nothing like Common.
Nah.
Like nothing. But today I got my tea because I know it's gonna be a lot of talking going on.
You're such a tourist.
Don't be talking about my mug, bro. Yes, I do love New York, and yes, I am a tourist. New York, I've been to New York like 20 times. Like, New York is like better than Paris to me.
Nah, you wildin'.
I know, like, I keep telling people like Paris is cap. Paris is cap. It's dusty, it's dirty over there. If you're just trying to go see the Eiffel Tower, like, don't waste your money. See that shit on TV or some shit. But like, you get more culture. You get more Parisian culture in New York than you do in Paris.
Out here,
like, that shit is crazy. But like, I haven't gotten like the full New York experience. As many times as I've been, I've never gotten the full New York experience. Like, everybody talks about, like, it's dangerous and everybody's so rude. Well, I'm lying. My very first time there, my very first day in New York, I did witness a robbery at this pizza spot.
New York never disappoints.
We ain't even make it to the Airbnb yet, my nigga. Like, oh, there goes a felony. Yes, welcome to New York.
And y'all still ate the pizza after?
Yes, I can send you my pizza. I ain't see shit. That ain't had nothing to do with us. But like, it wasn't like some everybody on the ground type shit. It was like one person right in front of us getting robbed individually, and it happened so fast. Like, okay. But no, even then, like, that shit still didn't move me, because that shit can happen in Atlanta, like, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, so I still don't feel like I've gotten the New York experience. I've never even seen a rat yet.
Hey, a New York rat is a rite of passage.
Exactly. Like, I need the whole New York experience, and I always stay in Harlem when I go.
Why Harlem?
Because Harlem is just like, I love it there. Like, that was the first place that I actually stayed when I went to New York for the first time. So ever since then, like, that's just been my comfort zone. I just love it over there. And like, I eat at Sylvia's every morning on Malcolm X. Like, they have the best soul food compared to the South. Like, New York soul food don't be good, but Sylvia's be busting. So y'all go see Sylvia's.
Yo, shout out to Sylvia's.
But yeah, like, I just have not gotten that experience. And it's not like I'm not out there. I walk at night. I ride the subway, all that shit. And I just maybe I'm just like oblivious because I don't walk in fear like that.
Are you fearless or reckless?
I mean, possibly both. I mean, I remember one time we were in Brooklyn, and we was walking, and somehow we ended up at Marcy Projects, and I was like, oh, that's where Jay-Z from, let's go. And they like, bitch, no. They was like, no, like it was a fucking haunted house or something. Like, I was like, y'all so lame. I just wanted to take pictures, so I just don't move with that type of fear, I guess. But yeah, I love New York, bro. I do. But today we're gonna get right into Somebody Said, because I have a feeling that this is gonna last the entire episode. So let's go.
Okay, let's get it.
Somebody said, Your triggers are your responsibility. No one should have to walk on eggshells around you.
Well, damn. That's harsh.
Spicy. This post was triggering as fuck, my nigga. Like,
yeah, he came in swinging.
I said, this the one. Bring that ass here, boy. First, I want to talk directly to the person who posted this. Hopefully, the algorithm finds you. And I also want to talk to anyone who may feel the same way, because I've been hit with the eggshell line before. So I know other people feel the same way. First of all, you are 100% correct. A person's triggers are their responsibility. And a person's trigger is not an excuse to treat anybody bad. So if that's the case, I do sympathize with you. And everyone handles their triggers differently. Me, I'm a runner. Some people handle them with alcohol. Some people handle them with drugs, or some people become abusive. If that's the case, like I said, I sympathize with you. And first, I want to invite you to have some type of self-awareness, because when we're talking about triggers, no one is ever triggered by positivity. No one's triggered by kindness and acceptance and understanding. So I would invite you to have some type of self-awareness about yourself, to figure out what it is about me that's so triggering for this person, to the point where I had to make a post about it and bully them in a sense. And secondly, let me give you a new perspective to consider. Consider the fact that this person may be out here fighting for their life. This person may be out here trying to overcome shit that they had no control over. And I'm going to say this in my podcast a lot. Like, childhood trauma is undefeated. There's no cure for childhood trauma. You can put a Band-Aid on it. There's workarounds for it. There's no cure, because childhood trauma happens at a time when our brain is the most absorbent, and it basically shapes who we are as adults. So, when people say go to therapy, you need to heal, go to therapy. Yeah, that's nice. Therapy is a workaround. Therapy does not consider environmental factors that are going to happen to you day to day. Therapy does not predict the people like you who are going to come into their lives. Therapy cannot predict every single thing that's going to happen. So, in essence, these people are doing the best they can with what they got. So, I'm going to use myself as an example. And I'm going to use the person who did the whole eggshell line on me, that story, as an example for the purpose of this topic. No other reason, okay? So I have anxious attachment issues. And before you ask me what that shit is, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to what anxious attachment is. I'm going to get to how I developed anxious attachment issues. And I'm going to get to how you can tell if you have anxious attachment issues. Okay? I'm going to get to it.
You knew I was coming for you.
But the number one trigger for me with having anxious attachment is that you cannot go all day without talking to me. You just cannot. It's non-negotiable. I'm going to get to the ins and outs of it, but I just can't. So I normally get niggas out the way who I can tell they're not a communicator up front. I just get them out the way. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to waste my time, because I know how this shit is going to go. But this particular person, he beat the system. So we vibed in the DM or whatever. Immediately, I felt like that was my homie, and I think it's because he was a Virgo. And actually, shout out to Virgo men. Like, I've never met a Virgo man that I did not like or love. Like, it's something about that Virgo on Virgo shit that's crazy. But yeah, so we switched conversations to phone calls. He FaceTimed me the first night or whatever, and immediately it was like, yeah. Yeah. He was sexy. I loved the way he talked, like the conversation, like it was just, I was really talking to my homie. All right, so we didn't get to hang out the first few weeks or whatever, or the first week or so, because he was going out of town when I met him. But I can already tell that he was not a communicator, the communicating type. So I'm like, God damn, I gotta let this nigga go. So I ended up blocking him. And,
what's the significance of blocking someone?
So I block people for several reasons. The first reason is to protect you. because I don't want to be the crazy bitch. When you have anxious attachment, like, it's already embarrassing in itself. It's hard to explain to people. So I just rather just leave it alone. And the second reason I block is because people will try to still have you on their terms. They're still going to try to have access to you. They're still going to try to fuck with you when they want to. And that's not me. And the thing about like anxious attachment, that's why we so loyal. We don't have time to attach to different people. We can't do that. So you either in or you out. So then he found another way to contact me. So then I was like, oh, let me see then, because that's works really, I don't block people for that reason. I don't block people so that they'll find another way to contact me. I really be trying to be done with you. But when that does happen, it does put someone at ease, because anxious attachment is based around abandonment. And so when someone comes back around, like, I do fuck with you type shit, it is like, it makes you at ease, and it makes you kind of like, let me see, you know. So he found another way to contact me. We finally hung out, and that shit was like magic. That shit was like magic. And I'm hyping this up because I need y'all to know the severity of what I walked away from because of this issue, So like I said, the shit was magic. Like, I felt safe with him emotionally. I felt like I could tell him everything. This is first day. Like, the first day I knew I loved this nigga, and I knew he loved me too, but he just ain't say it till later on. But that's another story. But like, I felt safe with him emotionally, physically, street nigga. I love a hood nigga. I love a hood nigga. And most importantly, my body felt safe with him. And that's important to me because when I was 11, and I don't know how to say this on here because I know people be using code words and shit. I don't want to get banned, but I was, I guess, sexually assaulted. I don't know how else to say the shit, by a family member's boyfriend who was 30 years old, and for an entire summer.
Wow.
So
I'm sorry to hear that. When
and I mentioned last episode, like, my body type attracts a certain type of man, and a lot of men just want to have sex, So when like I get gawked at and men tell me like what I do to you and shit like that, that shit is triggering for me. Whereas it may be flattering for other women, that shit is cringy for me. Like, and it lets me know to stay the fuck away from you. Like, I don't want that. So. And that's because I grew up with this associating of men having obligations to my body. And when I became an adult and I'm able to make my own decisions, it's like I'm staying the fuck away from any nigga who's on that, because no, you don't have entitlement to me. And that's how I associate men who, tell me what they're gonna do to me. But with him, like, he never mentioned sex. It never came across as that's what he wanted. Like, he never mentioned my body, and in turn, it made me just want to give it to him.
Plot twist.
Like, several times a day type shit. You feel me? Like, because when I feel safe with you, and my issue is safety, and I'm going to get to that too. And when I feel safe with you, like, I'm gonna do whatever. Like, I just melt into you. I'm gonna do whatever you want type shit. And that's really what I was on. And I just knew that this was my nigga. And the problem though was this thing. Like, he just was not a communicator. Like, I told him, like, I don't like when you go all day without talking to me. And I didn't tell him to this extent, of course, because like I said, this shit is embarrassing. And it's hard to fathom, I felt like he thought maybe I was trying to like control him or be difficult, and I really wasn't. But I didn't know how to tell him this way, Right. I didn't think he was going to understand, and most people don't understand. They just think I'm just being difficult. So that's why I tend to stay away from people who don't naturally communicate, because there are some men who just out the gate, like, if I don't talk to you by 6, I'm gonna make sure I hit you this, or I'm doing this right now, I'm gonna hit you. Like, he didn't do that. Like, it was just, I'm gonna call you when I fucking call you, you know. And I couldn't get used to that. I could not get used to it. And so let me explain to you what it's like to be an anxious attacher, and I'm going to use him as an example. So he went to sleep really late, so he would wake up around like 3 or something. So I knew around 3 I should be hearing something from him. When I don't hear something from him, instant panic sets in. Like, and you just start overthinking, and what goes through your mind is like, do he still like me? Did I say something wrong the last time we talked? Am I being annoying? Is he with somebody else? Do he like somebody else? Is, you know, like you know, just all these different things that he may not even be thinking of. But that's the abandonment clock starts ticking once 3 o'clock happens, you know. On top of that, though, and this is the part, you know, on top of the overthinking, I have physical aspects. Like, my heart's racing. Like, I can't get shit done. I can't think straight. Like, I'm panicking. I'm literally panicking. All because this nigga didn't contact me around 3 o'clock. That's a terrible way to operate. You know, just think about having to do that on a daily basis.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And I actually saw this woman on TikTok. She said she has to take naps in between, like, while she's waiting. I can't do that. Like, we out here trying to get creative about this shit, you know. I can't just be taking naps. I got shit to do. I got kids. I got money to make, you know. So I could not live like that day to day. And the thing was, as soon as he called, like, all that shit went away immediately. As soon as the phone rang, not even me hearing his voice, as soon as the phone rings, all that shit goes away. And I tried to let him know, like, that's all I need. Like, I can handle everything else. Because, you know, the shit wasn't perfect. It was an unconventional, you know, situation. But I was like, I can handle everything else. That's all I need. But we just couldn't get it. And there was one week. We had a great week. You know, he FaceTimed me in the morning. We talked. He went on about his day. He FaceTimed me before I went to sleep. We talked. That was it. I didn't need to talk to you all day. I'm not trying to be on the phone with you all day. I didn't even need you to text me all day, but he did every now and then. But I didn't need that because I knew before I go to bed, he was going to FaceTime me. And that's another thing. Consistency is key when it comes to anxious attacher, because that's how we form trust that we're not about to be abandoned. And so, but then he stopped. That lasted a week. Then he stopped. So I was at some point, I was just like, I can't do it. So I ended up leaving him alone. Months went by, he come back. And I let him come back because I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he get it now. You know, I know these bitches ain't me. You feel me? I'm gonna let you go on, have your fun. You'll be back. But he did it again. He couldn't get it. I left him alone. Months went by. He came back, still can't get it. And eventually it became resentful on both ends. He's mad at me for leaving. I'm mad at him for not getting it. So eventually we became enemies, almost. Like, it was like, I don't fuck with you, you don't fuck with me type shit. And that's where we at right now. But this is how important this is how triggering this was for me, and the extent of it. But, you know, he did hit me with the ain't nobody gotta walk on eggshells around you line. And it's like, my nigga, like, I'm trying to leave you alone. I'm trying to make it so you don't have to walk on eggshells around me. I don't want you stressed out about me. I don't want that. That's that's not what I want. And that's the whole reason I'm running, is because I'm embarrassed by this, number one. Number two, I don't want to give you additional reasons to abandon me. You feel me? So I be trying to be out. And to the person, you know, who wrote the post about, you know, the eggshell thing, like, I would hope you keep that same energy when a person is trying to avoid you because you do trigger them, you know, because we don't like to see that side of it. But let me get to how how anxious attachment is formed. So we all have attachment styles. There's either secure attachment or insecure attachment. And your attachment style shapes how you're going to attach it starts from when we're babies, and it shapes how we're going to attach as adults. So it's based on how well your parents or your whoever raised you met your physical and your emotional needs. So if you have like these loving parents or parents and who met all your physical and emotional needs, then you have a secure attachment, and great for you. But if you had a parent that gave you mixed signals, like sometimes you would your needs would be met and then sometimes they wouldn't, or you would get ignored or something like that, that mixed signal causes an insecure attachment. And that's how there's other insecure attachment styles. There's also avoidant attachment. I'm not familiar with that, but in this case, this is a reason you would form anxious attachment or possibly avoidant attachment. Or in my case, if your physical needs were met but your emotional needs were completely neglected or ignored, you would most likely adapt an anxious attachment style. So like, here are some signs that you may have anxious attachment issues. So if your relationship is the base of your life outside of your kids, if you have this intense fear of abandonment, if your mood is determined by when or whether you talk to your person, if you blame yourself for everything that goes wrong in a relationship, these are all signs. And there's some other signs that I don't personally relate to. You may have low self-esteem associated with it, or you may have a fear of being alone. I don't have that fear I don't have those things. So it's not like you have to check every box to consider yourself an anxious attacher. And also, I don't know if it's levels to this shit. I don't know if everyone feels this panic in their body, the heart racing and shit. I mentioned the girl on TikTok, but I don't know if everybody feels that. But I know me, I have an extreme case of anxious attachment. And like, I'm functioning the best way I can, with this shit. But my mother came to me a few months ago and was like, why aren't we close? She was like, why don't we have that mother-daughter bond? And I was so relieved that she actually came to me and asked me that, because this was like my opportunity to face her about it. And I have been carrying this guilt too, because like, I see people with their mothers and everybody's so lovey-dovey, and I just don't have that attachment to my mother whatsoever. And even when I'm trying to like post her birthday post or Mother's Day post, I feel like I'm just doing it to go through the motions to make her feel good. But it's not, I don't feel that sentiment when I do that. And that seems sad. And it seems like, my fault. But I got a chance to like face her about it. And I told her like, Mom, you weren't there. I raised myself. You were not there. And she would, pass me off to people. Like, I was just staying with different people for lengthy periods of time. I have no memories of me and her together doing things. I don't have pictures of me and her. Like, I would be trying to find, like, everybody's posting pictures of them with, on the lap with their mother. And I don't have none of that. I don't have no mother-daughter attachment to my mother whatsoever. And I told her, like, at one point, I felt like I was a burden to you. Like, your life would be so much better without me. And she chuckled a little bit. And she was like, you know what? I did feel that at one point. And I was taken aback that she admitted it. But, I let her know, like, Ma, imagine being a child. It's just me and her. Growing up, knowing my mama don't even like me. I'm the only one in the home. My father was not present. He lived in another state, and so did my brothers. So it was me and my mother in Georgia, and my father, my brothers, my older sisters in Kansas City. That's where they lived. So I didn't have a relationship with my father. And by the time I tried to form a relationship with him, he had gotten killed by police. So that's another trigger in itself. But it wasn't until I became an adult that she tried to, like, be a mother to me. But by this time, it's too late. and I don't think she grasped that. I think she felt like if she could just play catch up, it'll be okay. And that's not how it worked. I don't have an attachment to you, but I respect her as my mother. I don't disrespect her, but I don't have that bond with her. I went through some dark times, and my mother is 72 years old. If she knew all the things that I went through because she was not present, because she was not there to protect me, I'm afraid for her health. I don't even want that type of guilt on her. This is the abandonment that has caused me to develop all these issues. And I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. But my first protector was not my father. My first protector was not my mother. My first protector was my boyfriend. My first real boyfriend. He was a dope boy. And when I tell you that man would not let shit happen to me, you couldn't look at me the wrong way. You couldn't talk to me crazy. That nigga was not having it. That was my first protector. And that was protection and safety that I had never felt in my life up until that point. No adult, no parental figure was there to save me when I needed it. And here comes this boy giving me not only safety, but showing me love, showing me appreciation, showing me, that I'm worth something. I didn't get that up until that point. And so my allegiance has always been to my man. My allegiance has always been to my protector. I remember the time I was at Greenbrier, if you're familiar with Atlanta, Greenbrier Mall. I was actually at the gas station at Greenbrier Mall. And back then it was two ways. And I was at the gas station. This nigga was banging on my window. He would not let me get out the car. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with him. But I two-way my boyfriend. He said, I'm on the way. That nigga was there in 3 minutes. I don't know how the fuck he got there so fast. But that nigga was there so fast to protect me. My mother was never around to say I'm on the way. My father was not around to say I'm on the way. My boyfriend. The abandonment part of it comes from, I mentioned, how my mother would kind of like drop me off. I would stay with different people. Like, I stayed with my aunt for a lengthy period of time. I was with my grandmother on holidays. I stayed with my brother in Kansas City for a period of time. I just felt dropped off, and when I'm in a relationship, that's triggering for me because it's almost like, and this sounds so bad, but it's almost like, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. I need you. And that shit sucks to say out loud because you get ridiculed so much for this type of neediness. But it's like, we fighting for our lives out here, man. We fighting to get through day to day over shit we didn't have no control over it. And I did not want to cry on this episode, but to whoever wrote this post, bro, and to whoever feels this way, take into consideration that we fighting. We already know we got issues. We don't need you to remind us. that our triggers are our problem. We know that. And I don't want to cry no more. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. With that being said, I'm gonna see y'all next Friday. Every Friday, 7 p.m. XOXO Biddie.